Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Season 5, activating starseeds, walk-ins, and the new human of the golden age. I'm your host, Waxela Sananda, and today I have a new guest that I'm excited to introduce you to, Nura Rachelle. Welcome, Nura.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. We're going to have a fun conversation today. I'm excited to share you with the Alchemy of Ascension viewers. But first, I would like to invite everyone to join us in a short alignment process so we can really get present and focused to receive this information that's going to be shared today. So I invite everyone, if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. And tune in to your body, deepening the breath into the belly. And as you're breathing, taking several deep breaths, tune your awareness into your heart center and focus on the light within your heart, finding that heart light glowing inside your chest. And feel that light glowing and growing around your chest and around your body. And now bring the light of the heart up through the crown of the head, extending up far above the head into the central sun, making contact with the heart of central sun. And then breathing that energy down into the top of the head, continuing down into every energy center to the base of the spine, and then all the way down into the core center of the earth, making contact with the heart of Mother Gaia. And feel that nurturing heart energy and bring that up through the layers of the earth, into the base of your spine, up into every energy center, lighting you up with that divine light from the heart center of the earth. And then bringing those energies together in your heart, the light from above, the light below, and the light within, creating a Stargate Holy Trinity of light. And that will bring you greater focus and presence and awareness so that you may receive whatever is in this conversation that is for your highest good today. Now, one more deep breath, bringing your awareness back, and you may open your eyes when you're ready. Thank you so much for joining me in that. And I'm going to share a little bit about what Nura is up to. Nura Rachelle is an intuitive astrologer who focuses on turning grounded cosmic wisdom into clarity of action. She is devoted to Venus and the feminine mysteries and brings her passions of embodiment, wellness, and soul integration practices into her astrology offerings. She teaches foundational courses as well as advanced astro-initiations, which can be found at nurarachelle.com. So I am really looking forward to jumping in with you today. We have an exciting body of work to share. But for starters, since this is the first time I've had you on, I'd love to hear a little bit about how did you find astrology and what brought you to this path of Venus?
Well, I think Venus herself brought me in all ways, actually, to astrology. At the time, I wouldn't have known it. If you asked me this question a couple years ago, I might have said something totally different. But when I look back at the transits, I was actually going through a massive Venus cycle return. And then I became committed. I decided, oh, this is for me, through a series of synchronicities. It just kept coming back to me. I was very much, well, I was brought up born again Christian. And so a big part of my alchemical journey in this life has been to explore all of the realms of spirituality. And I think I actually came into this life knowing that I was going to be in opposition to certain things and learning how to be in opposition gracefully, like learning how to see, oh, not all of this is for me, but a lot of it is for me. right? And so it opened me up to different ways of seeing the world. So astrology, I then connected with the path of yoga. And it really brought me to study a whole bunch of different spiritual lineages, including Hermeticism, alchemy itself. And this part of me just awoken and realized, like, wow, we're all talking about the same thing. And we're using different language, but it's all the same thing. And there was something in me that I think actually brings a lot of people to astrology, that I wanted to really understand myself. Like, what am I doing here? Why are there these seemingly opposite experiences? Why is there this duality in life? And I would later come to learn about my Venus star point, which is Gemini, which really holds all of this. I didn't realize how much, I was being presented with duality. I was being presented with opposite sides of the coin from every possible angle, so that I could learn to see everything from both sides, so that I could learn to understand people from all different walks of life and be able to hear their story, understand, this is a very different way of looking at the world than me, but I have immense compassion for your worldview. And I understand that in the end, it is all one. And so a lot of it was this journey to oneness. And in that, I learned a lot of compassion for myself, and all of what I needed to go through in order to understand myself more. And really, I think astrology came to me so that I could learn who I am from a more higher self perspective. And the part of me that needed a mental tether, that's what astrology provided for me, because my soul and my spirit already knew, but my ego needed to feel part of the conversation. And so I don't think astrology is all about only for the mind, but there is a mental tether there. So it gave me a language to be able to communicate about it with other people. And then once I found, I was like, wow, people have been communicating about this for thousands of years. And there's so much here. It's so rich. I can connect with somebody who doesn't know me, and they can look at my chart and they can tell a story that is so resonant with me and helps me to feel seen and helps me to see myself in a way unlike I've seen myself before. So it opened so much for me in the areas of self-love, and also for being able to love others.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And I've heard that from other people who are really into astrology and study it and teach it, that it's almost like a divination tool. Like, we all have our different things that we follow, whether it's tarot or, human design or, palmistry. There are all kinds of things that can tell us about ourselves. So it's really that quest to know ourselves more and understand, why am I here? I love that. So today is going to be all about Venus cycle initiations. And so I'd love for you to start out with just kind of introducing us to Venus as initiator of embodied clarity and creativity. And thank you for helping me with these questions, because I never would have known what to ask without your help.
Yes. So there's so much around Venus, and alchemically, in the Hermetic lineage, there's also conversation going on around Venus. And so I won't go too deep into there, but I just wanted to bring that in because that's actually what really notified me, that it was like, it's not just coming from astrology, but there's also other esoteric branches, other spiritual lineages that are also talking about Venus. And that really caught my attention. I was like, there's something here. And so if we think about Venus as both the lover and the warrior, in her morning star phase, she actually really embodies the warrior or the warrioress. And then in her evening star phase, she's very much the lover. And so that's part of her cycle, her 19-month cycle. And I can go more into that in a moment, but even just understanding, she has these two faces. There's something in her about embodying all of us through this reemergence of the divine feminine. So that's a really, really big thread right now. And I believe that's why she's coming so much into the conversation. But also from the esoteric spiritual lineages, you might have heard of the planetary spheres or the planetary initiations through the spheres. Rudolf Steiner talks about this. A lot in the Hermetic lineages talk about this. And it is said that where we are currently in our Earth evolution is we're all in a Venus initiation. And the way I take that is like, we're all learning how to love. We're learning how to grow and evolve through love. And so I was like, wow, okay, that's amazing. But why stop there? Let's look at what this means astrologically. And then I discovered, wow, people have been talking about this for a long time. I was just late to the party. But then I discovered, I was like, oh, in shamanic astrology, there's a whole branch talking about the Venus star points. There's also Venus gates, which actually bring you through the chakras. So that's a whole beautiful journey. In the evolutionary astrology field, there's a lot there as well. But basically, Venus is like the twin planet to Earth. And in order to ascend and come to the highest way of knowing ourselves, we all have to be initiated through Venus. So, astrologically speaking, we have a lot of clues. So we have our natal Venus point. So where was the planet Venus at the time of our birth? So that's layer 1 of this. And then layer 2 is we were all born under a Venus star point. And so that's going to give us more information as well. And we can kind of think of the Venus star point almost as the mother of our Venus. She is the leader of the cycle that we were born into. So now we have 2 layers of understanding our Venus initiation. And I really see that if we were to explore the signs and the archetypes and the houses of where these archetypes are showing up, we're going to have so much information of, okay, this is how I get to bring more love into the world. This might also be how I get to show up as a warrior, as a rainbow warrior, as a light warrior. That's really how I read the warrior side of things. It's like staying aligned in your truth and in your authentic path as that warrior. So there's a lot here. Do you want me to go deeper before we move?
I find that fascinating. And, I'm all about the heart awakening and expanding. And I do believe that ascension, that's what ascension is. It's all about awakening the heart center, the portal of the heart, and being able to get beyond the self, the individual, the ego, and step into love of all and seeing everybody as worthy of our love. And so it's such a beautiful conversation. And in that, the warrior is also a piece of it. It's funny, I was just in a mastermind group over the last week, and it came up, like, I feel like I'm about 90 or 95% love and 5% I will destroy you if you mess with my children, or, and we all are, right? No matter how loving we are, there needs to be that side. So I feel like you just spoke into Venus as the embodiment of that in each of us individually and collectively. So yeah, if there's more there you want to explore, great.
With Venus, like, she definitely points to this very multifaceted energy of life, right? Like, she can be Venus as helping us to connect more with our body. That's where the embodiment comes in, understanding pleasure, understanding how we love. So there's also the conversation of love language. So if you take your Venus, your natal Venus placement, and combine it with your Venus star point placement, you're going to get a lot more information around your love language. And this was actually something that totally opened it up for me, because just to share a little bit of my personal information, I have my natal Venus in Scorpio. So I was like, yeah, I like deep connection. I am a deep connection gal. That's actually why I'm wearing black too, because they say that we should dress for our Venus because it's our style. It's also what will help us to stay magnetically attracting in accordance with our resonance. But then I also have my Venus star point in Gemini, and I am very verbal. Like, I need to be communicated. I need to hear the words "I love you" daily. And I need to also be able to talk about these really big, the dualities in life. Like, I can connect with my husband before bed. I'm like, what do you think about God in this way? And he's like, I'm about to fall asleep. That's a really big question. but I need to be able to have these really big questions and these big conversations. And so for me, putting those together helped round out my understanding of my love language as well, because they carry different energies. And so the love language, understanding our bodies, understanding what we are here to create. So combining all of that, I know, for example, for me, it's a really important part of my journey to communicate and verbalize alchemical transmission messages, and that's what I'm working through all the time. And even when I'm connecting with people one-on-one, it's very much around seeing beneath the surface, which is very Scorpio, but also being able to put it into language, which is very Gemini. And so it rounds out. So especially for those, if you've connected with your Venus, but you're like, I'm not sure that's the whole picture for me. And then you're like, oh, this is actually part of this soul group of grander creation that I'm here to do with this Venus star point. It can kind of round it out a little bit. So I mentioned personal style. Venus is also really potent around the music and the art that we're attracted to. And so whether or not you consider yourself to be a traditional artist or a traditional creator in any sense, she really points to the inner creator in all of us. And I believe that what she shows us is really illuminating how do we get to be artists in this life. And I really believe that we're all here to master the art of creation. And of course, coming at it from a heart space, like how do we infuse our creations with love? We know that there's not really any such thing as staying still or staying the same. It's like we're either in the energy of creation or we're in the energy of destruction. We're not like, oh, I created and now I'm done and now I'm just going to stay here and rest, right? Like we always are in the energy of creation or destruction. And when we are guided by our Venus placement, our Venus star point, it helps us to have a little bit more information around, okay, if I put my energy here, I'm going to see some sort of fruit. I'm going to see some sort of result or some sort of reward. And it can just also be very affirming. And sometimes even coming at it from another place, like, oh, why do I keep attracting these things? Right? That's a big question. That was a really big one that brought me to astrology. I was like, why do I keep having these certain relationship cycles? Or why do I keep having this money story? Because Venus is not only relationships, but she's also our money story. And I was like, why do I keep attracting these kinds of even, money stories through relationships? Right? It's also connected. And when I understood a little bit more of, well, what was I here to learn about those things? Oh, I'm attracting these people, these situations, so that I can come into a greater understanding of my own power, so that I can come into an understanding of my own prosperity frequency. So that's also part of the conversation.
Fascinating. So, I'd like to kind of make it a little clearer for people like me that maybe don't know a whole lot about what Venus is all about. So can you just break down what is a Venus cycle?
Absolutely. So Venus makes 5 star points over an 8-year period. And so that's where we come up with the Venus star. You might have also heard it referred to as the Venus pentagram. And so over these 8 years, she's going to come back to these 5 points in that dance, that elliptical dance that we've seen. If you've ever seen, it's really, really beautiful, watching her almost create her mandala in the sky. And so that's also where we see the imagery of the rose, or the 5-petaled rose, or the 5-petaled star. This is the tracing of Venus in her pattern that she makes. And so these 5 points, sorry, I have something coming through there. So these 5 points, they are intersections of the sun and Venus. So they conjunct, and at these 5 points, we are basically working with a sun-Venus conjunction. So they're just coming together in the sky as seen from Earth. So what this does is it creates, you could say, a portal. a portal of energy at these 5 points. And we work with these 5 points on average, each of them for around 100 years. Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes it's a little bit more. So we actually have generational star points and star point groups that we're working with, which can also help us to know, okay, who are the other people that I can connect with to almost bring the fullness of this 5-pointed star, because we're working with all 5 of them at once. So it's actually showing us, well, what is our collective journey right now around what we're collectively creating? So we all have our individual part of what we get to contribute there, but there's also a bigger collective creation. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. That's good. And okay, so next we're going to talk about, how does Venus connect us to our healing, creativity, and embodiment? And I love that you bring embodiment into the conversation, because, you know, that's what I'm all about, embodied ascension. And if it's out here, you know, we can't really work with something if it's just a concept or if it's just an idea. It's so helpful to be able to embody, whether it's the knowledge or the understanding of how to do something, to bring it home. So thank you for bringing embodiment into it. And then why are these all linked together?
Yes. So there's a lot of energy around the reemerging divine feminine. So this is important regardless of gender. So as we connect with the reemerging divine feminine, it's an invitation to connect more with our bodies. Historically, there's been a lot of the disconnection and disembodiment from the body, even if, you know, certain spiritual lineages kind of saw the body as sinful, or saw the body as an impediment to our spiritual growth. Right. And so there's so much that was lost when we as a collective took that path. And I really see, the more we reconnect with Venus, we are reconnecting with our innate body wisdom. And that comes through our senses. It comes through our ability to receive information, not just through our minds, but through our bodies, through our hearts. And that's so much of the wisdom of the divine feminine. So in that way too, we can also see what are the archetypal stories that are going to show up that will help us to heal ourselves. So I mentioned some of the signs, but all signs in astrology have a correspondence also with parts of the body and with chakras. So this can really bring it home for a lot of people. If you work with chakras, knowing that every sign has an affinity with the chakras. So say, for example, if just coming back to my personal example, I'm working with the Scorpio and the Gemini. Well, I know Gemini has to do with the throat chakra. It has to do with expression. So I know that if there's something I'm working through in my throat, it has to do with speaking my truth. And that's a lot of we can keep it as simple as that, thinking about, well, what's the embodiment journey here? What do I need to heal in this space? Or if I connect with Scorpio, has a lot to do with the solar plexus and willpower. And so, well, what do I get to heal around my solar plexus? But then we can also look at actual physical body correspondences. So Gemini has a strong affinity with the lungs and also the hands. You might notice I talk a lot with my hands. It's like if you tied my hands behind my back, I don't know if I'd be able to speak.
Same.
Yeah. And that's part of it, right? It's like this full body expression. Or with Scorpio is a lot about the sexual organs and then how we procreate, how we generate. So I think depending on where we are in our spectrum of healing, we're going to have stuff come up in those parts of the body that are associated with these signs. So our Venus placement, as well as our Venus star point, can give us a lot of information around, well, how do we get to heal these things? And that actually leads into, well, how are creativity and healing and embodiment all connected? Like why link them together? And I think this is really central to this notion that we're all here to be powerful creators, but we're probably all also healing our ability to create. And that's why we're here. Otherwise, we would just be out there as gods and goddesses creating planets and solar systems. And maybe we are, and maybe we have done that already. And we wanted to come experience life in a human body, right? But all of us, we decided to heal and clear something around the path of creativity through the time space portal that we were born into. And so it's all about embodiment. It's not about just knowing something that's happening out there in the sky, but it's like, oh, that that star point that I was born into, it's showing me, what do I get to heal? What do I get to create? And this also points to something that's really beautiful in the art of astrology, in that every archetype has a path. It's wishes, wounds, and wisdom, right? And we typically, especially in the earlier parts of our life, but not always, we are shown our wounds. We're also shown all of our karma that we get to heal and clear for the rest of our life. Usually before the Saturn return around 29, we're shown what we're working with. And so that can be really nice to know, because you almost, like, past life regression is wonderful, but you almost don't even need to do that. If you just look back at your life, what came up before 29, you're like, oh, that was a re-imprinting of all of my karma. Wonderful. Those are the themes I'm working with. So connecting with, okay, I had that wound, I had that experience. What did it show me about myself? What did I learn as I went through the healing process around healing that wound, around reclaiming my power, around reconnecting with my authentic voice, my authentic truth? How do I now get to embody my fullness, my wholeness, as I reclaim all of that? And now what do I get to create from that space? Because so much of creativity is connected to our wounds or connected to our healing journey. And especially since we're all on this journey of healing, it's like we know what we heal and clear for ourselves, we heal and clear for the world, but oftentimes it comes through our creative expression. And that could be as simple as how you present yourself walking down the street is part of our creative expression. Like, oh, I'm deciding to embody a frequency right now of love, and I'm going to walk down the street, and that's me being a creator. And now I'm going to smile at somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye, and I just transmitted something to them. I don't even know what I'm unlocking just by being in my higher self. Like, it's not even always about a product. It's just about our very state of being. So I really see Venus as integral to understanding that.
I love that. I love that. Yes. And I totally agree. That is what, the embodiment is about, embodying a frequency. And I like how you're tying in that, Venus can show us, and by kind of aligning with what's in our chart already and embodying that, we get to sort of step into our mission in a way, or step into our higher aspects of being able to share who we are with the world. Beautiful. So are there sometimes blocks that come from the chart in the way of being able to embody our creative nature?
Absolutely. And I think that really ties to the energy of wounding. And a lot of it, I think, so it connects to the karma. So to what degree have we been able to look at these pain points with love? And so in the chart, I see the tensions that come up between different planets, as those are the indicators of the shadow that we get to transmute. And they're not some label of like, oh, that you are bad and wrong or something like that. I really believe we completely choose the time and date that we're coming into these bodies very, very purposefully. And so we decided, oh, I'm going to choose that thing that's really difficult, or maybe in one life I didn't quite create that the way I wanted to, so I'm going to create conditions that give me the proper amount of tension to work with and really be able to move through that. So I'm always thinking about how it's like the conversation between fate and free will that comes into astrology inevitably when we talk about these things. It's like the chart does show us, oh, this is a path that we chose to work through in this life. But it's kind of like if you plant a seed, you know what kind of tree it's going to become, you know what kind of flower it's going to become, but it really depends, to the degree that it will flourish and be its best version of self. Like, how are you watering it? Is it receiving the amount of sunlight that it needs? Maybe it needs to be transplanted a couple times. Like, is it in the right place? So that's where the free will and the choice all comes in. It's like we have so much. I really see the archetypes as potentialities. So a lot of times I see the blocks that come up as invitations to explore, like, what else is possible? How else can I create in a different way? Is there a different choice here that I can make? And sometimes it's like, okay, I'm coming up against a wall. Am I supposed to go around this wall? Is this wall a sign that I need to go the other direction? Or is this wall here so that I can dismantle it, climb over it, create something completely new around it? And I really see Venus and how she plays into all of this is actually showing us how can we allow more grace into this whole process? How can we allow more beauty, more receptivity, more understanding of our personal magnetism and our resonance, right? Because that's how we're going to know. It's like, okay, is this a wall because I'm not supposed to go here? Or is this a wall because I'm supposed to climb it and get stronger? And so I feel like Venus shows us that magnetic quality. And Venus shows a lot of what we attract and what we repel, what we are also repelled by. And so it's a lot of learning about our resonance as well. And I think really trusting that.
Fascinating. Thank you. This is diverging from maybe a little from our normal conversation, but as you were speaking, and I've had this question before, when people schedule their baby's birth, they're going to have a C-section, they choose a date and a time. And I always wonder, is that usurping that baby's, normal, it's not the normal time probably that they would have naturally been born. Do you feel like that's all calculated somehow? Or, is it, I had a situation like that with my daughter where the midwife, I did a midwife, I was in Hawaii and, home birth and all that, but she wanted me to take black cohosh in order to have the birth. She felt like I was going over my time, and I started to take it and I'm like, no, absolutely not. This is her choice, not mine. Like she gets to choose when she comes. And so for me, that was my experience. But what are your thoughts on that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I love this question. I really believe that it's all karmic soul contracts. So even, the soul of the child is communicating on the subconscious levels with the parents. And so even that communication for you to say, no, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to take this herb, I believe that was also part of the conversation. But I think that especially when it comes to the planned C-sections, that's part of the contract. Like there's so much unseen around the communication between souls. And I believe that it couldn't be any other way. My mom tells me those stories too around, I was 3 weeks late and they had to induce my mom, and then I was born by C-section. But if they all would have gone with the original plan of the date that I was supposed to be born, I would have been completely different. And so I do believe that the soul, it's like waiting almost. I have this image of like waiting on the edge, like, when am I going to pop in to the 3D? I'm just like waiting for this cosmic alignment, this perfect cosmic alignment, even down to the minute, right? Because it sets our ascendant, and our moon sign can change if we're born, hours apart. So yeah, it's
even
all by divine design.
Yeah, even your rising can change in minutes, right? So yeah, it's fascinating. I always kind of wonder about that, but I like your answer. I have to agree, although, I wonder, would we or would my daughter have come out totally differently? She's also Scorpio, differently if she had come earlier. And it's curious, interesting thing to contemplate.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about things.
Yeah. So you've talked about the 5 Venus star points. Can you go deeper into what each of those are and what they're about?
Yes. So we are currently working with 5 points. So we have right now, everybody basically who was born since the late 80s up until now is working either with Gemini, Aries, Capricorn, Scorpio, or Leo. So these are our current 5 Venus star points. For those people who were born before this, so this could be like the silent generation or the baby boomers or Gen X, there were Cancer, Aries, Aquarius, Scorpio, Virgo. So we're overlapping with the Aries and the Scorpio, but the other 3 signs changed. And so we're actually going to also see another change out of the Scorpio star point into the Libra Actually, this year we're going to have a switch in October. So that will be very interesting to observe collectively, like what shifts when we move from a collective agreement of what we're creating from Scorpio to Libra. So that's really how I view these 5 signs, like as they all work together. And I'll go with the ones that are the current ones that we're working with now, because even if they're not the star point you're born under, they're still relevant by transit and in what's being activated for you at this time. And right now, we're actually working with the Venus star point in Capricorn. This just happened January 8th. We just set the Venus star point in Capricorn, and we'll be working with this for the next 19 months. So all of us together are working through creating new systems, dare I say, right? We're witnessing dismantling of certain power structures. We're seeing it all come down. Capricorn has to do with building, and has to do also with authority and the structures of our reality. So this is also politics, economics, all of these things. And so what happens within us is like we all come to this greater awareness of our personal responsibility. And so we're all learning how and experimenting with, well, how do I get to show up as a builder at this time? What do I get to create as a builder? So we can kind of layer the personal Venus star point that we're born under with the currently transiting Venus star point and kind of blend them together, because we're all going to have our personal missions, but they adapt and change as we relate with what's going on in the collective, of course. So the collective journey is right now is very, very Capricorn focused. But if we zoom out to these 5 Venus star points held all together, this is how we can really tune into, like, this is the magic that is being created by everyone alive right now. It has to do with the Gemini. So we're all learning something around conscious conversation, which is very much Gemini. We're all learning about the relativity of truth as seen from different perspectives, different viewpoints. We're all learning about the Capricorn, the building. We're all learning about Scorpio, sexual healing. I think also reclaiming power and understanding how to be really responsible with what we're creating on a very physical, tangible level, like really owning our power and understanding, like, kind of with great power comes great responsibility. And how does that come through what we create as well? And then Leo, we're all also working with the star point of Leo. And so if you're born under any one of those 5 signs, you're going to be really the leader of those energies, especially in your personal circle.
Fascinating. Yeah. And I can see how, I can see all of those influences going on in the world right now. So I love it. So like, just to dig in a tiny bit more on that, if someone feels like they want to like really dive into, let's say, the Capricorn aspect of it, and they want to build new structures and see old structures break down, how could they like utilize that that energy?
Mm-hmm.
To
So the first way would be to know where that Venus star point is occurring in your chart. So we're working with 18 degrees of Capricorn. So the whole sign of Capricorn is relevant at this time, but if you want to get super specific, it's that 18th degree. So if you find where you have 18 degrees of Capricorn in your chart, so which house is it falling in, you'll know, okay, this is the area of my life that I am contributing to the building. So personal example for me, this is almost conjunct my midheaven. So it's like 9th house. I know that something I'm building is around 9th house themes, which have to do with teaching and truth and philosophy and higher learning. So I was like, okay, I'm going to focus all of my building energy around building courses and things like that, because that's where this energy is showing up in my chart. Say you have the Venus star point of Capricorn in your 1st house, maybe, and the 1st house is all about the self and your personal, your body, your health. It's very about the individual. Maybe you're building up through just strengthening your body and finding really healthy daily routines that really support the building and fortification and resilience of your physical body. Say you have the Venus star point in your 7th house in Capricorn. So if you're a Cancer rising, you'd have that Capricorn 7th house. There would be really focusing your building through relationships or maybe co-creating. So that's, I think, the best way to see how somebody can use this star point for themselves is like locate where it's occurring in their chart and focus on that area of life and I don't think it's like one thing. I think they're all very multi-layered. So it's
Yeah.
just exploration.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. And so you talked about the individual. What about collectively? Can the Venus star point show us what we can build as a collective with our soul group or our collective group?
Absolutely. So it's really cool to see how the 5 star points, they actually all feed into each other. They all support each other. And it supports in the way actually that the star points flow through the sky. So the Gemini star point creatively supports the Aries star point. The Aries star point supports Capricorn. Capricorn supports Scorpio. Scorpio supports Leo, and then Leo supports Gemini. So they all support one, and a lot of, that could look like giving energy to, or they lead into the energy, and then they're also being fed from another. So there's actually a lot of really cool studies done around like music groups like the Beatles, for example, and how they all had different star points and how they were all able therefore to support each other creatively. So it's like really ideal if you are creating something. I mean, if we went with the ideal 5, if you had a group of 5 people, you would ideally want somebody from each one of those star points, because it's kind of like the different hats that everybody's going to wear in the group. So I've looked at this around, different businesses or different creative projects. You want somebody who's going to be showing up who's going to be the spokesperson. That might be Leo, right? The person who wants to be on the front page and who wants to be the leader, right? And then you'd have somebody really connecting with the bones of the operation, the Capricorn. You'd have the person writing the script in the background, the Gemini. That's what I'd want to be doing. Right? You'd have the Aries, somebody who's going to be looking at perhaps the actual ideas. Aries is very much linked to ideas. And then you'd have the Scorpio, like, how is this emotionally connecting? How is this emotionally synthesized? And is there something that we're not seeing? Sometimes Scorpio can also play the black hat in a really nice way. It's like, what are we not thinking about here? Right? So imagine what you're able to create if you're able to, for example, create a team that has at least all of those 5-star points represented. And this is how you can, kind of play off of each other's strengths. You can also see this working in families. So families that have different star points, and how the energy then starts to flow in the family. And so that can be really cool to look at as well as your friend groups. So I think it's really helpful to start with the people in your life, in your immediate life. Like, who are you seeing in your daily life, who you're working with, and what is it that they are here to create based on their Venus star point. And it's actually a very easy to find information. It's actually easier than finding somebody's natal chart, because it's basically just a list of dates, and you can find your birthday and where you are in that date, and you'll know that that's your Venus star point. And that's actually what I have as a gift offering, is you'll be able to see what your Venus star point is by the date, and then you'll be able to watch a video to go deeper into what that means and then how to connect with it for yourself. But there's a lot of ways you could use this. And if I even zoom out farther than that, considering that everybody born within the same 19-month section is going to have the same Venus star point, look at your elementary school life, right? Look at, especially once you know what your Venus star point is, that means all of your classmates, if they were born in the same year, would have had that same Venus star point. And then what were the themes around creativity that came up? Oh my gosh, this is like bringing back so many wild memories for me. Like, everybody argued in my class, and I was like, oh, Gemini, yeah. Like, there was constant arguing and conflict, but we all, out of that, became a lot, you might say, more adept at debating or being able to hold space for different perspectives. So I think, especially if we think back to the elementary school days, there's probably more of the wounding around the expression.
That's fascinating to look at, like that our whole class, I've thought about that with the Chinese astrology too. If you're all the same year, pretty much, you're all going to be the same Chinese animal. Yeah, it's so interesting. So I think a fun topic to address with Venus is relationships, and how do the Venus star points affect our relationships and love.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it comes back to that understanding which sign feeds which sign. And so if you actually have the same Venus star point as somebody, that's actually considered, there's different names for them all. So that one is like the twin soul. It said that you're actually here to co-create on the very same topic, right? Which makes sense if you have the same Venus star point. And then the issues that you're kind of working on around that are like, well, who gets to shine at which time? Or how can we support each other if we completely disagree, but we're here to build the same thing? So sometimes that can be a lot more of the story of working through being a karma mate and then moving into being a soul mate if you have the same Venus star point. It's almost like, you know, if it's so much the same, there sometimes might actually be more friction.
Yeah.
Right. But I also find, so for example, I have attracted so many Venus star point and Gemini people and women particularly who I'm here to collaborate with, and we do a lot of conversations with. So I think one-on-one relationships, it manifests in one way, but then our external or friend group relationships, it manifests a little differently, especially depending on what's the purpose of the union. Like, what are you trying to do together? When you think about somebody who's in a relationship and has a different star point, and we know that one of them feeds the other, this is where you want to be aware of reciprocity in the relationship. Because so imagine, like, we know that so say the Gemini star point creatively supports the Aries Venus star point, and you had somebody of both of those star points in a relationship, it might start to become all about the person who has the Aries star point. And so everything would be feeding them, fueling them. So then the Aries star point person would kind of have this responsibility to almost look to like, how can I also support you? So this is where we want to be careful of like not boxing ourselves in with this language and with this understanding. It's kind of like love languages. Like, we don't want to box ourselves in and limit ourselves with this information. It's just kind of understanding what's the natural energy flow, and then how can I also expand my bandwidth to realize like I'm actually capable of all the love languages. I'm capable of supporting everybody, right? And it's just about decision and how I'm going to do that. So that's really how I see it there, and also identifying, well, what are the wounds too, right? And where am I in relationships almost expecting for somebody else to see me in the way that I want to be seen, or receive love the way I want to receive, if maybe they have a completely different love language. Like maybe they're really here to learn something completely different. So this is where astrology can help. It's like, oh, I receive love in this way. I understand my creative mission in this way. And theirs is completely different than mine. And how can I learn more about theirs and then understand like it's probably not personal if they're not able to love me the way I need, right? And it invites us into our own inner work. So how can I love myself more? So for me, for example, with the Gemini, it's coming up so much today, but it feels like such a good example. I've needed a lot of verbal affirmation that not everybody's able to give me. So I had to learn how to have conversations with myself. And so journaling, for example, became my best friend, because I was like, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with my higher self. I can't get this answer. I can't get this information from somebody outside of me. I have to go within. And I feel like that's a way that we can really look at the association of which archetype we're working with the Venus in our own way. So say, for example, with the Venus star point in Scorpio, there's a deep desire to merge and become one with the person that they love. Not everybody is able to do that. Not everybody knows how to do that. So then how does the Venus star point in Scorpio person receive what they need? Right. And then I think I think all the answers are kind of the same. It's like, get close to God, goddess, right? As your source, right? Realizing that it's not really about the other person. It's like, okay, I am pulling all of the parts of me here so that I can completely love myself and release any energy of codependency. And now I'm so able to be emotionally present and whole. And now I will attract the person who is able to meet me there, right? Rather than another manifestation. So yeah, there's a lot of We can use
You,
it.
I mean, what you just said, I was like, yep, that's me. And you know, you had told me previously that I have the Scorpio Venus star point, and what you just described, I mean, it's my whole journey. It was like looking for love on the outside and never being able to find someone that can match, you know, match that desire to be so deeply connected. And then, you know, that propelled me into my embodied ascension work and my, you know, craving for spiritual connection, which is fulfilling, right? And so I get my fulfillment that way and teach others too. In embodied ascension, that's what we're doing. We're learning to get, you know, to become whole and get our needs met from our divine presence being sourced. So I love how you shared that. I'm like, yep, that's me. My book's title is The Love You Crave. That's the heading title. And I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly right. So it's fun. And also I wanted to comment on how you mentioned not to get boxed in by your star point or by anything in your sign. Even we've had this conversation around star seeds a lot in this summit because it's about star seeds and walk-ins, and you know, star seeds are from, you know, various different races, but also not to get stuck on that, because we're also all of them, and we're also able to communicate with so much more than one maybe home race or lineage. The same is true, I feel like, for all of these techniques. They're to give you tools and ideas and ways to work with your energy, but not to get stuck or boxed in by it. That's kind of like the shadow side of it if you do. So yeah, to ascend into, okay, I am that, I understand how my energy works now, and I can expand into exploring other things and not be locked down by maybe something that you don't like about your sign or.
Totally. Oh my gosh, that was a really big part of the journey for me, was not allowing myself to get boxed in by what somebody else's interpretation of the energy was. I think we're still very much evolving these energies. Like, we are evolving the archetypes, we're evolving our consciousness, and somebody else's interpretation, especially an interpretation that was given like 2000 years ago, that was according to where they were in their evolution, was how they named it and how they gave voice to that energy. But we're completely different now, and we're different daily. And when I really came to, I think, my greatest healing in relationship to astrology, because I also had to confront the wounds of this as well in my own work, was my chart is not me. It is simply the story that I was born into, that I chose to work with in this life. It takes it from a very different level. It's like the chart is not our soul. Our soul is so much bigger than this. It's just the moment in time and the energy that I wanted to expand in this life, because I am perfectly able. I'm the only one able to expand the energy that I chose to be born in with at this time. Nobody else can do it unless I do it. Nobody could do it the way I do it. And so that's why I chose to work with these energies. And it's so much more empowering to think about it from that space.
Yeah, I love that. So, yeah, we're getting toward the end of our time, but I'd love to hear, do you have anything more about how we can consciously work with this energy in our daily life, with the Venus star point or any astrological energy day to day, and kind of make that practical, like something practical to give the viewers and watchers to walk away with?
Absolutely. I would say connecting with the current Venus star point. So of course, go and see what yours is, but then the current one being Capricorn, really finding the energy of rootedness in your body. Capricorn has affinity with the root chakra. And so you've probably already felt into this. Like, there are all of the issues that we're all witnessing all around the world are root chakra issues. And everybody's kind of on a different part of that journey. And so first, identifying where you are in that journey, right? Is this about personal safety, which is very much a root chakra issue? What can you do to get safe? What can you do to feel safe? This could look like energy work around safety. This could be like learning about protection roses and learning about how to wrap yourself in the bubble of energy to feel safe wherever you go. This could also look like connecting with your lineage, which is also very root chakra. Like, where did you come from? And this could be your bio lineage or your soul lineage. So either one of those could help you feel more connected with your sense of belonging, which is very much the root chakra. So understanding, well, what's your relationship like with your root? This could also look like your prosperity, your finances. And so what really identifying, where are you in that journey? Where do you need support? There's also something with the Venus star point of Capricorn of finding mentors, like the wise elder. There's somebody who's already walked this path, who knows exactly where you are, or something similar to where you are, who could probably help you. That's very much also the energy of the Venus star point in Capricorn, is connecting with our wise elders. And this could also look like holding our wise elders in reverence. So while we're simultaneously taking down these older systems that obviously the elders created, right? Or maybe we ourselves did in another life, right? Who's to say? I believe we all are part of, we created what's here. So we also know how to dismantle it, but not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There's something of the traditions and the lineages that we came from. Like, we're literally standing on the shoulders of giants. And so sending love and sending healing back through our ancestral line, and then noticing what shifts in the root chakra, noticing what shifts in our ability to hold a frequency of safety and prosperity, and really feeling that our daily structure of life is in alignment, because that's also the energy of Capricorn, ruling the bones and the skeleton. It's the structure of our life. So are we in alignment? This could also look like doing yoga practices that help us to just understand, well, how does my energy feel different? How do I move different if I'm sitting with a tall spine? This might also look like working with the energy locks, like the Muladhara and the Mula Bandha, right? Like doing Kegels even, right? Like, how can we strengthen our root chakra to be able to hold space and really hold our frequency in alignment with what we're here to create right now?
Wow. Oh, I love that. That's fascinating and practical. All of those things. I love to, like, okay, there's a lot to learn, but how do I make it my own, and how do I work with it? And so thank you. That was powerful. We are that time. I mean, time has just flown. You're such a wealth of information, but I want one more time. I know you've mentioned your free gift for anyone that wants to know more about your personal Venus star point. You have a free gift for that, and I'll just let you share it one more time so people know how to work, what you're offering.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you'll be able to, first, you'll want to see the PDF, which gives you your dates. And so you'll just notice your birthday. It's sandwiched between two dates, and you're going to see it's one of the 5 star points. And once you know what that one is, then you'll go and watch the video that is corresponding to that star point. And it just gives you a little bit more information of the themes and how you can work with them. And then you might also want to, everybody, watch the Venus star point in Capricorn video, because that's very pertinent to this time as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nura. This has been so interesting, and you have so much information to share. I appreciate you so much. So thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to share about this. I think it's so potent and can be so supportive for everybody in their creative healing journey. So it's such an honor to share this beautiful, sacred wisdom.
Yeah, and you have mastered it. So it's been really fun to hear all that you have learned, and the way that you share it is really assimilable, I think actionable. So beautiful. So we will end there. Thank you to everyone watching and listening. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day or evening, and namaste.